Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with Comic Prograno. We've already covered this week's X-Men books and miscellaneous Marvel books, so now let's move on to this week's King in Black tie-in, starting with Daredevil number 27. Where we left off in Daredevil, we had two stories going on. First off, in Hell's Kitchen, Elektra, having taken on the mantle of Daredevil, is dealing with the invasion and trying to protect those who can't protect themselves. However, among those who have become possessed by Null is none other than Typhoid Mary Walker, who, having learned of someone else operating in Hell's Kitchen as Daredevil, has gone to go after them. Meanwhile, in Rikers Island, Matt Murdock is an inmate again. Only this time as Daredevil, not as Matt Murdock. And Null's forces begin to invade the prison, and it seems that part of the symbiote goo has bonded with Matt. So we pick up in the mayor's panic room. Fisk is understandably angry at himself because the Avengers warned him about this, but he didn't heed the warning. Wesley Owen Welch is his number two, basically, we received no prior warning, and we're incensed about it. Then Fisk asks where Mary is. They say, she saved Fisk, threw herself in harm's way, and they left her behind. And Fisk wants to know where she is. Well, in Hell's Kitchen, facing off against Daredevil. Of course, this leads to a bit of infighting between another null-possessed civilian. Elektra and her teenage charge rush into a construction site, and Elektra directs her charge to run and hide well. Back in the prison, Matt is doing what he can to fight off Null. He has brief moments of being able to take control and basically use the symbiotic goo formed suit to take down the symbiotically possessed guards. And during all of this, however, Matt gets electrocuted and realizes that electricity is problematic for Null. Back with Elektra, her and Mary duke it out. However, after she briefly incapacitates Mary, Elektra realizes that basically the nullified people can track by scent. And Elektra finds her teenage ward, basically the teenager she's protecting, in the clutches of her symbiotically possessed mother, as Mary crashes through the window and seemingly kills her. However, the girl manages to get free, and Daredevil Elektra fights off Mary. Back with Matt, in his mind, he explains to Null he's not just Matt Murdock, he's also Daredevil. And so he uses the electricity that was used on him against one of the guards who had been possessed by the goo. Becomes a bit of a chaotic melee, but Daredevil escapes. Mayor Fisk states that the people of Hell's Kitchen need, the city needs to see him taking action, and so he goes out to do just that. But no one, while everyone tries to stop him, he does promptly, say, okay, so if you guys are going to stop me, which of you do I kill first? And they let him go. After having left the cell block, rather than leave the prison, Daredevil goes to the electric chair that's kept at Rikers. Sits down, smashes through the glass, sits down in it, puts the helmet on, tries to use the goo to reach over to the, activate it, but it won't. Him and Null have a direct mental conversation. One of the other inmates has followed Matt and flips the switch for him, which gets the goo off of Matt, leading to Matt, jokingly stating to his fellow inmate that forever is easy. Back with Mary and Elektra. Basically, Elektra is the primary target of Mary. She really just does not care about anyone else and won't kill other Null drones get in the way. And Elektra realizes that Mary's too powerful. Turns out, how does Matt do this? And it's like, oh yeah, that's how he punches monsters till they fall, like a moron. So Elektra gets tossed out of the building, lands on a car. Mary goes to inspect. It's no breath, no life, and so Daredevil's dead. Okay, so apparently she struck a deal with Null and says, hey, I got to kill Daredevil, so you know what? Deal's a deal, Null. Mary's all yours. But it turns out that Elektra simply stopped her heart and her breathing. That her young charge is now orphaned. And while Elektra does state that you don't always have to be like Matt Murdock to be Daredevil, sometimes it can't hurt to try. And she does, and Elektra does what she can to comfort her young charge. And that is where the issue ends. I believe that's the end of the King in Black tie-ins for Daredevil. However, we have a new title entering the King in Black foray. None other than Fantastic Four number 29. Basically, it's the day the invasion begins. Apparently, 4 Yancey Street got destroyed, so they fixed it. They rebuild it, basically, but without all the extra dimensions and whatnot hidden within. And so, however, Johnny's room was one of those extra dimensions. So yeah, his stuff's all gone. And so Skye, his alien soulmate, she can feel how much losing his possessions means to him. So they can buy him new things. Let's do it. Let's do that right now. Make a date of it. And so they decide to go and do just that. Elsewhere at the Baxter site, Dragon Man, Franklin, Valeria, as well as Bentley 23, a young clone of the longtime Fantastic Four foe, the Wizard, are working on a what's known as the Forever Gate, putting safeties in place. Valeria explains that as the safeties are in place, and now the FF and only the FF can open and close the aperture 3 times a month. But apparently it was all Bentley's idea. And Valeria says it was quite brilliant. Bentley said that's quite, from her, that's quite a compliment. But he does deserve the credit. So. In Soho, Johnny and Sky have gotten some new duds, but it turns out that the outfit they just got Johnny, as he puts it, it's the only clothes he owns right now that don't have a 4 on them. So they need to get him more clothes. But it also turns out in Soho, Sky has actually become a bit of the local superhero. And explain that she made a life for herself there in Soho. It's her neighborhood now, and she's the local superhero. She's made friends. She has a job. And she even says that maybe there are things on the Earth that she knows better than he does. So she wants him to try something. Panzer. And he loves it. They're going to try hot chocolate. But, Johnny realizes that, to be with him, Sky gave up quite a bit, actually. So, but it turns, as they talk, a flock of birds arrives. Sky can actually speak to the flying creatures. And one of them slams right into the head of Johnny's sister, Sue Richards, the Invisible Woman. Johnny is not happy about this. About her following him, and you know what? Sue is, basically the whole soulmate thing is crazy. It's happening way too fast, and it's not going to end well. And it's implied that during his past relationships with Dory Evans, Crystal, Frankie Ray, maybe Sue also tailed Johnny and each of those girlfriends on dates. However, as they argue, the symbiote dragons appear, and so Ben and Reed pick them up. Johnny invites Sky, but she explains that for one, she doesn't believe she's been invited, and she needs to stay there and keep her neighborhood safe. In all honesty, so it's an all hands on deck situation. The Fantastic Car is flanked by a couple of Quinjets. Bentley, Dragon Man, and Valeria are already dealing with symbiote dragons. Mr. Fantastic tells Franklin to basically pass on the Dragon Man that whatever happens, he has to guard the Forever Gate at all costs. The symbiote shield around Earth is explained. The Forever Gate is to be held as the only way to evacuate survivors. Black Cat, Wolverine, and Captain Marvel are alongside Invisible Woman at one point when she gets attacked by a wave of symbiote goo. Now we know that Wolverine makes it out all right. Eventually Black Cat does too. Around the same time that's happening is when Null dropped Eddie Brock onto a car from the top of the Empire State Building. And we revisit, we basically, it turns out that Sue saw Johnny and Spider-Man's conversation from issue 2 from a distance. Spidey does his Nova Blast Torch does his Nova Blast while Spidey and it swings off with Eddie. But she doesn't see, when the Nova Blast clears, she doesn't see Johnny anywhere. Sky shows up and asks what's going on, and she explains that, her bond with Johnny drew her there. And explains that he's cold and hurt, struggling, darkness all around him, and he's alone. All alone. Basically, Sue tells her to get bent. There's no magical love bond between Sky and Johnny. There's just an alien bracelet. That's all. And she says that if Sky wants help in the real world, she'll come with Sue. However, turns out they really are bonded because as Johnny is being nullified, so is Sky. And so nullified Sky takes on Sue. Yeah, it does not go. Basically, Sue just has to has to escape. And turns out Sky can communicate with the symbiote dragons, but that may be because she's been covered in symbiote goo. So But she escapes back to 40 Yancey Street. And everyone else is rallying there too, it turns out. And they get a communication from the Thing, saying it'll take a lot more than a bunch of black goop to clean his clock. So he asked where they are, and they explain they're back home, and they could probably use his help to hold down the fort. Well, Thing's been nullified. And he says, sure thing, I'll be right over. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our next King in Black tie-in, Sword #3. Where we left off, director of Sword Abigail Brand enacted a contingency plan in the event of something like this occurring and the heroes failing, which basically would entail as much of an evacuation from the planet as possible. Also, Cable had been definitively compromised by Null. So the issue begins. The issue focuses heavily on Eden Fessy. Manifold, and he's basically going for a walk throughout the universe. You see him going to various planets. So he's going where he always goes when he goes on a walk, everywhere. The beginning, the little blurb at the beginning of the issue explains that Manifold is not. While it does seem like he is a teleporter, Manifold is not, by any way, shape, or form, a teleporter. He ends up in Katajuta in Australia, talking with some of his tribesmen. We learn he's got a little bit of resentment for Gateway. Not like real bad. It's just everyone, acts like Gateway's his mentor. It's like, Gateway's not my mentor. He's my elder, yeah, but that's all. They also talk about what happened, but Manifold hints a little bit about what happened when he was with the Avengers back during the Jonathan Hickman run. But with the symbiote shell around the planet, he can't see stars, and apparently Manifold doesn't really do well inside either because he can't, okay, there's that, without, seeing these monuments, it's harder for him to do his thing. But he explains that, he's home, he's in country, so he doesn't need that. He doesn't need the stars or anything else. He just, okay, yeah, I know exactly where I'm at. There's a write-up of the Snark War. So the Snark War is a colloquial term for the Xenrix War of Succession. Back a few months back in Guardians of the Galaxy, Stoat of Emperor Stoat of the Xenrix was killed during post Kree-Skrull Kotati War, Kree-Skrull Alliance Kotati War, Empire negotiations. The killing was But because of his death, what began was the War of Succession. They're known as Snark War. So we get it was explained the heirs of Emperor Stout are ranked by their odds of succession. Kuga of the Boa clan, who is 25 to 1 odds, eldest of the current heirs, radical modernist, currently in retreat after a catastrophic defeat in the Ortua system. Wezel of Cheetah clan, traditionalist, currently besieged at the edge of utopian Kree space, attempting to negotiate with the Supremo for safe passage. Condor and Liga of Gyler clan, youngest of the current heirs, moderate reformist, currently in an agreed alliance until only they remain, whereupon the war will shift to a process of single combat. And finally we have Jagyar of Boa clan, radical traditionalists, eschews a fixed power base in favor of guerrilla fleet, current favorite to succeed Stout on the Zenrik's throne. There's also some information about Zenrik's history, like they did try to make a less destructive means of succession, but yeah, it didn't really stick, especially when Stout, who is a traditionalist, took over. But Manifold goes to visit Jagyar, and basically it turns out that Jagyar has the utmost respect for mutants, because I mean they're basically, they embrace their natural weaponry, so to speak, their powers. And so Manifold proposes an alliance to take down Null, which would include transferring powers from a couple of mutants, Burner and Lifter. One has pyrokinesis, one has gravikinesis, as well as strength and durability. So they're willing to basically donate their powers to Jagyar, but he's got to help them take down Null. But Jagyar tells Manifold a story about planet Ortua, a peaceful, sparsely populated world, but with vast mineral resources and close to a strategic binary wormhole. Kuga was planning to conquer it, and if she had, she would establish a staging area, weapons factories there, and the war would be over now. However, she did not conquer Ortua, because Null had destroyed it. Kuga had committed her troops to take a world that no longer existed. The error gave Jagyar a rare chance to outflank her. Kuga's losses were severe, and she's now in hiding, attempting to rebuild her forces, but it cannot be done. Her warriors are already deserting her stronger armies, such as his. Jagyar's most powerful opponent has been removed from play because of Null, and only because of Null. Why would he destroy Null? Manifold explains Null's a monster, but Jagyar says, yeah, he's a monster. A monster destroys worlds, and I have no world, but my enemies do. So, let him come. Let him tear the stars apart, and we'll all build new stars from the wreckage. And the children of my children will make sweet war by their light. So, Manifold leaves. Basically, tells Jagyar, good luck during this war. Hope it brings you joy. Apparently, joy is considered to be the Earther word for Snark War. However, someone comes to visit Prince Jagyar and kills him, saying, time to die, as he does so, as they do so. And that's that. On the Alpha Flight space station, Manifold pops into the office of Henry Peter Gyrick. He's the acting commander of the Alpha Flight program. He's on the phone with someone, though, talking about the Krakoa problem. It appears to be, I'm guessing, since he says since Killian is name dropped, that it's one of the Hellfire kids. But he explains he's acting commander of the Alpha Flight program, which includes Gamma Flight. It's not the same, but apparently he gets the idea. We also get a bit of personnel notes about Manifold, namely his powers. So, Brand states that he's not a teleporter. People treat him like he is one, but that's not what he is. He talks to space. If he tells the universe to fold itself until he can walk across it in a single step, it does. He tells space to warp so light passes all the way around it without ever hitting him. to form a little bubble of invisibility just for him, it will. He says it's not telling, it's asking. It still terrifies Brand if she thinks about it for too long. Otherwise, though, he's a really nice guy. But as Gyrick is walking through the station, Manifold creates a little bubble of invisibility around himself and cuts a small hole out so he can look through it. But yeah, Gyrick has a chart. Well, the redacted version of it at least. So he likes the full schematic, but he understands the need for secrecy, but he says that he obviously hasn't printed it out. He did. But Manifold, as Gyrick walks away, Manifold grabs the chart and takes a look at it in his little bubble. It's from Orcus. Whoever's in charge of research and development is redacted. Same with operations and offense. However, infrastructure and influence, Henry Peter Gyrick is in charge. Also, the central executive is classified, and there are 3 more strategies and their leaders who are completely classified. Manifold replaces the file, goes back to the peak, and gets in touch with Brand, basically, hey, here's what happened. Orcus got Gyrick. He's working with them. But Brand explains that, they got Gyrick is a long-term problem. The problems they got now are going to take precedence. None of their team from Krakow was returned. Or even got in touch with them, not even to check in, and Brand doesn't like it. Could be they need extraction. So, Manifold runs through the gate and sees everyone wrapped up in goo. Asks what happened. What happened? A null-empowered cable is what happened. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to King in Black Thunderbolts, number 2. Where we left off, well, first, 2 members of the Thunderbolts team got killed, and the Rhino left. The rest of the team was headed to Ravencroft Asylum, where they were to meet up with Norman Osborn, who apparently had a plan for in the event of an alien invasion. Which makes sense. I mean, he did, save the Earth from the Skrull invasion, so, by stealing intel meant for Nick Fury, but still, he did it. Saved the world. Got to be Nick Fury for a little while, and Iron Man. In Ravencroft, apparently they've got basically, Mayor Fisk is on Skype, talks to Taskmaster, though, well, Mr. Fury did call him Fat Man, and, well, yeah. So he's Taskmaster's probably told to hit Mr. Fury. But, yeah. So, basically everyone who isn't Norman Osborn is told to leave the room. Star's kind of surprised how normal Norman seems. Though Batroc states that Osborn's full of surprises. Turns out that, and Mr. Fury starts looking on some of the others that are around, they're in Ravencroft, and basically suggests, hey, maybe we could, maybe we should replenish our ranks with some of the inmates. Batroc says that, nah, it's fine. Our team already has an idiot. Mr. Fury asks if we have a problem, and Batroc just looks at him. Just kind of, And he explains that what he's figuring out is if you were to kill Mr. Fear right now, how he would most likely how he would most likely to do it. Because he would collapse Mr. Fear's trachea and let Fear drown in his own blood like a slaughtered pig, unless Star chose to save him. She says she'd pass. However, one of the symbiote dragons shows up, and yeah. The goop starts pouring in on the cells. Patrick really dislikes the goop. Mr. Fear kind of says, you know, first off, it suggested, Taskmaster just says, okay, everyone, masks on. Star says that's fine. She won't, because she would rather Fist not ever to kill her later. And Batroc states, hey, real heroes, Fist said real heroes don't hide their faces, so, you'll be like Wonder Man, right? And she's like, Wonder Man? Like, yeah, Simon Williams. And apparently Simon Williams is very popular in France. So, the rest of the team is masked up, is suited up. They fight off some of the symbiote-infected inmates. It actually does go rather well. Mr. Fear does take, kind of a, hey, you remember that when I said we should recruit some of the inmates, and Batroc acted like it was the dumbest idea you'd ever heard? Well, Null didn't think it was that dumb of an idea. Though Batroc says, okay, the evil Gothic spaceman agrees with you. You must be very proud. Seriously, I love this book. But yeah. Star suggests they save, they're supposed to be heroes. Heroes save people, so why don't they save these people? So, basically it becomes, okay, yeah, follow us, we'll get out of here. They appropriate a bus. Taskmaster explains the plan to Star and promptly throws her out of the bus, where she flies off. Taskmaster and Mr. Fear have an argument about the speed they're going at, because, well, Mr. Fear is actually going 45 and at 55. But the bridge is out, and luckily, as the bus flies off the edge, Star grabs it, sets them back down, quite winded. And they go on, and we, the readers, find out what the plan is. They're going to blow up what's left of the Sentry's body. They're going to use that against Null. Though Star asks a really important question. How do we survive that, exactly? That is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our final King in Black time of the week. King in Black, King in Black, Black Panther. Basically, we get the as New York's not the only place Null's attacking. He's also going after other places, including Wakanda. Black Panther's trying not to think about what happened to Storm early on in the invasion. But yeah, the battle in Wakanda's not going well. They've got some defenses, but Null's forces will likely adapt to them very quickly. Shuri suggests that they evacuate the country. Okoye is against that. Basically, like, hey, we got to stand and fight. Turns out, though, T'Challa also agrees evacuating the people is the right thing, but he has more of a plan. More of a plan than just we need to evacuate to, Okoye will be piloting something known as the Hand of Bast. Shuri just opened her vault. Use number 14. Is nothing in the others will be useful. Vault number 14. There's nothing in the others will be useful. So, but basically we see what's going on. Their show is happening to the people of Wakanda. Turns out that the vault number 14 focuses on alchemy. The narration has a flashback to a conversation between T'Challa and his father when he was a child. He was taught the ways of warfare, and his teacher changed the rules. Supposed to be 1-on-1, but then it being 5-on-1. But also, among the part that is to be played by Black Panther in the plan is he's going to be using the sonic weapon of Ulysses' Claw. The man who murdered his father. Shuri is splitting her spirit up amongst various other troops throughout the nation. She's with the Dora Milaje. She's with the Hazarazi. She's in Baron Bashenga with the city guard. She's everywhere. Until she's compromised by the dragon. However, before that happens, T'Challa does contact her to apologize. And she like, what are you apologizing for? Like, oh, that's what. Okay, I get you. Then the Hand of Bast attacks. Apparently, the Hand of Bast was built to kill the Phoenix. And well, so Okoye was born to defend Wakanda. It's a good combination. But yeah, so the Hand of Bast takes down one of the dragons, but the nullified Shuri attacks. Using after they made some modifications to the sonic weapon, Black Panther uses it on Shuri. Doesn't really have the desired effect, but explained that it was never intended to have an effect, be used directly against her. Rather, the country's shield will make her an excellent amplifier. And so, Claw's weapon plus the shield gets rid of the symbiotic bubble around the planet. And once again, the sun shines. And the invasion in Wakanda is over. And that is where the issue ends. Also, the end of this video, and also I might add the end of our Marvel cover for the week. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.